sports in Baltimore and things, and watching the Orioles go up to Fenway Park this weekend to take on the Red Sox and a little more fake football with the Bills and the Ravens. But, when your mom dies, you find out who your friends are. I don't need to tell you anything you probably don't know already. And this guy's been my pal for going on 2 decades now. He's done national radio. I did national radio. He did national radio. He's still out there doing it each and every night. It's a part of the Oakland Raiders radio network as well. My pal JT the Brick texted me and said, dude, I want to come on your show and talk about moms. And we've done no green rooming here at all. Brick, I haven't caught up with you on the Stones tour in Europe when we're over there with the Ravens when they're playing in Italy and Spain around our London date. I haven't caught up with you on my European adventures or the Raiders moving to Vegas. So you reached to me. How's life out in Vegas? Everything cool out there in Sin City, man? We got a little fight going up, right?
Yeah, my friend, real good. It's been super hot. It's probably been the hottest summer we've ever had out here. We had, I think, 18 days in a row of over 110. So it's finally started to come down a bit. But I wanted to reach out to you because I really enjoyed all the posts of your mom. And over the years, I'm a big Facebook guy privately and with the radio show. And when I saw your mom passed away, it kind of hit me hard because I always like the photos with your wife on Sunday when you're going to get some breakfast or some crab cakes and she's drinking a Bud Light, having a beer and doing something like that. It always brought joy to me. When I saw the picture of her in the back seat, I'd always crack up and say, wow, we'd all be that lucky if our moms could live into their 90s and drink cold beer, and you can see them every weekend. My mom lives in New York. I only see her a handful of times a year. So, again, rest in peace to your mom, who had a tremendous impact not only on you, but that whole region where you do radio.
Well, you know what, man? Nobody really knew my mom, and my mom used to call the show back in the 90s. So, for like the old-time listeners, and I know, how long you been doing this, Brick? I'm 26 years in. This will be my 26th year in December.
Yeah, it's 21 for me, going on 22.
Yeah, I mean, has your mom ever called in on your show? Have you ever, like Letterman used to do that all the time, like go to his mom and whatever. And, I mean, I wouldn't be the first guy. I think Johnny Carson probably did it back in the day. And, it's kind of a funny shtick to talk about your mom, but my mom was like real life. Like my mom would come out to the barn when Ray Lewis was out there and kind of sit in the corner as an 80-something-year-old lady. And, she didn't even like have a walker back then. She kind of got around okay because she was so tiny, kind of like her body stayed together because she was smaller than a jockey, bro. I mean, she weighed 75, 80 pounds. She may have never spent a day above 85 pounds in her life, literally.
Yeah, I did. My mom gets a chance to watch my career from a distance. And, again, the fact that we're not close or locally, near each other, but we're very tight. I talk to my parents almost every day, and they're real happy for everything I'm doing on the radio.
But they're sports people, right? Like, your mom loves
absolutely.
sports, has to, right? I mean, put up with you, right?
Absolutely. My dad is the reason I'm on the radio. My dad is a diehard sports fan. He's 79 years old. He taught me everything that I know today about being a fan, because what we do on the radio is we just give opinions and we talk about our life experiences and what we think we're seeing about certain sporting events. But that was rooted with my dad, who was my Little League coach and my basketball coach as a kid, and all those car rides and all those nights watching sports together growing up as a kid. I learned everything that put me out there on a limb to have opinions that I have today. So we're all based on what we learned from our parents. If we're lucky enough to have parents that lived long enough and have those type of experiences, all of our success should be tied to our parents or a parent who had that impact on our lives.
Yeah, I got to tell some stories about taking my mom, out on 33rd Street when I was a kid, and I didn't put this in the story, but like my dad and I would go to games all the time, and my dad, it was always like we got hot dogs at G&A Coney Island because they were cheaper there. Put them in the bag. My dad hated paying $2 for a soda that was 25 cents. It was kind of like movie pricing right at the ballpark, even in the 70s. And my dad would be like, "Hey, it's the same game out here for $1 as it is over there for $5. Let's sit over here for $1 and we can go 5 times, And I guess there's probably still a big part of that in me, where, especially when I travel, and I travel a lot, but I am the ultimate budget traveler, you know what I mean? Like sometimes I get to stay at a nice place at a nice rate, but for the most part, I sort of apply that, let's go to 5 ball games and have 5 experiences rather than buying the club level seat or whatever, which I've never been that guy anyway. But one Sunday it was Mother's Day weekend in May of '79. You can look it up. My mom took me out to the game. My dad had to work on a Sunday, and my mom, we went up to the box office, and she insisted that we get the good seats that day, and that we never tell Dad about it. You know what I mean? Even though we had this ticket stub that said terrace box, and my mom spent, God forbid, $3.75 instead of the $1.50 or whatever. It might have been $5.25. I don't know. But she splurged, and we got nachos that day, and I was allowed to go to the Leaning Tower of Pizza behind Section 40, and I was allowed to get pizza that day at the ballpark with all the extra oregano and the garlic powder on. It was more like carnival pizza, Brick. You know what I'm talking about. It wasn't good pizza. It was bad pizza. But if there is such a, most pizza's good. But so my mom, had these crazy little experiences, and of course Dennis Martinez threw a 2-hit shutout that day against the California Angels and shut down Frank Tanana and Gritch and DeCinces and all of those other deserters, Don Baylor, God rest his soul, that left us to go play out in California. So there, how about that? Good memory, right?
It's a great memory, and all the memories that you have with your mom, it really is going to stay with you the rest of your life. And I also like the fact that, your mom was there during the Jen Strong battle and the battle that your wife has had, and your mom's been able to at least see great weekends where you went out as a husband and a wife to get breakfast, brought your mom along during some difficult times. That's how a family grows together. That's how a family becomes even tighter than before. So those are good memories. You're lucky. You had a really good mom, and she's in a better place. So,
dude, we shot literally hundreds of videos of her over the last 8 years, ever since you could put, maybe since 06, 05, 06, the last 10, 12 years of her life. I've got video of all of this stuff of asking her how she grew up. And she told a story one time about all of my crazy parties over on Kane Street where the cops would show us, beer, youth, rock and roll. Brick, am I painting a picture that you're familiar with?
Yeah, that was me. I mean, we're around the same time. I graduated high school in '83, and I graduated college in '87, and we're into the same type of music, the Stones and Rush, and I had big parties in my backyard.
By the way, I'm wearing my Rush shirt for you, bro. You can check it out. I'm wearing the 2112 album cover right now, in your honor.
I'm just devastated that I don't have, I've seen Rush 54 times, and my wife says every year, when Rush, if I was ready to go with my best friend, Jimmy Vito, our Rush shows, she'd say, all right, go have fun. I have one of those wives who said, go have fun. And now I don't have Rush shows on my calendar. Now, as you know, I met my wife at a Stones concert, so we try to catch the Stones as often as we can, but unlike you, I don't get a chance to see them internationally, so I got to get that calendar. You got to email it, or I'll just find it online, and I got to know where they're playing overseas and maybe treat my wife to an international show. I think
it's football season, man. I mean, come on. We got to buckle down here. JT the Brick, my man, out on the West Coast doing things from Vegas up to the Bay Area, and, of course, on the Raiders Radio Network as well. I'm going to see you out there. I mean, we're out there October 4th, 5th, 6th, whatever that weekend is, and I'm coming out there. My boy Julio's on assignment somewhere in Istanbul or something. I don't know where he is, but he's halfway across the world. But I'll be out there doing my thing, and what am I going to see when I get there, Brick? This is the strangest circumstance, because if there's ever a franchise where they're not going to burn the stadium down, it feels as though Oakland and the Oaklandia and Raider Nation is going to maybe peacefully, maybe not, I don't know, pick up and move that thing down to Vegas, right?
Yeah, it's 3 years away, Ness. So it's so far away that I think most fans, and we just had one preseason game on Saturday at home. It was Marshawn Lynch. He didn't stand for the anthem. He came back to Oakland, and the Raiders lost to the Rams and Jared Goff, but the starters look pretty good. They're all in. There is a window now, and you've seen those windows, and the Ravens have taken advantage of it. The Raiders are now back in a window where they should get a Super Bowl or play in a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years. I think they'll win a Super Bowl before they get to Vegas. If they don't, and you're good friends with Jack Del Rio, it will be disappointing, because the team's got everything they need on offense. They literally don't need anything else. With Donald Penn, the left tackle, who's been holding out reportedly, going to come in today or tomorrow. That'll be done. They got 3 Pro Bowlers on the offensive line. They got Crabtree and Amari Cooper. They got Marshawn Lynch. They have depth everywhere on offense. The problem is the defense. The defense, the first 2 picks in the draft, Garyon Conley and Obi Melifonwu, have not practiced yet. Obi's practiced just a couple of days. So their first 2 picks in the first and second round of the NFL draft that were supposed to start and play right now haven't practiced. So they have 2 or 3 holes on defense at linebacker and in the secondary that they have to get up to speed quickly. They open up against the Titans on the road. Then they get the easiest game of the year, the Jets, in their home opener, before they go to the nation's capital to play the Redskins on Sunday Night Football, and then Denver with Trevor Siemian. The Raiders have an opportunity to go 4-0 or 3-1 out of the gate. If they do that, they're going to have a 10-win season. If they stub their toe out of the gate, the schedule becomes a beast. I think it's one of the toughest in football at one point. You mentioned the Ravens. How about the Dallas Cowboys in Oakland? How about the New York Giants in Oakland? How about the New England Patriots in Mexico City, where the Raider fans got royally screwed because they get 7 home games instead of 8, and Tom Brady, instead of having to go to Oakland in the black hole, gets to go to Mexico City. They got Philadelphia on Christmas Day in that dump in Philadelphia. They got to play the Chargers in StubHub Center in front of 27,000 on New Year's Eve.
That's going to be a show, right? Like, seriously, that is going to be a show. On Christmas Eve, 19,500 Raider fans, 2,700 Charger. I mean, what's that going to look like on Christmas Eve?
That is a really big point you're bringing up, and I've said this again, and I could be wrong on it, or I could be right on what the Chargers have going for them. The Chargers are a nightmare of an organization now. They went up to L.A. No one wants them there. Nobody. Even the Charger fans who are up there would rather go see them in San Diego. They love the San Diego experience. So, that being said, Chargers are going to play in front of 28,000. The reports that I've heard from inside the Chargers are they're putting their season ticket packages together that if you sell your tickets to Raider fans or you sell them to the opposing fans and they find out, I heard this, I think it's true, that you could be off their season ticket list going forward. So it's supposed to be something.
Now, how stupid is that going to be when they get a 90,000 seat stadium and the 10,000 fans they actually maybe. Dude, it's a disaster. I mean, like, if people are talking about the Jaguars winding up over in London, I will be shocked if it's not the Chargers that they haven't played themselves into a circumstance where, they could get out of L.A. and go to London and be the first team to take that on,
Well, here's the deal on this place, because it's only 28,000. If they do it right and they don't give up their tickets, you don't have to do any work to sell out 28,000, even if you have a fan base that hasn't caught on yet, because L.A. is so enormous. You should be able to find 28,000 Charger fans, and you shouldn't sell any of your tickets. So look at the Raiders. Last year they played in San Diego. They had over 50,000 fans, and that was a real number. I was there for that. That is not speculation. There were over 50,000 Raider fans. Well, 50,000 Raider fans aren't going to be able to get into the StubHub Center. So I think it will be the largest Raiders tailgate in the history of the Raiders. It'll be in L.A. with the L.A. Raider fans, and none of them are going to be able to get inside because there's no tickets available. So they're going to have to be outside tailgating. It'll be on New Year's Eve, and by then the Raiders better have a playoff spot clinched, because we're all on the same page. You in Baltimore, me with the Raiders. We got to stop Tom Brady. We got to stop this crap and this nonsense. Someone's got to knock them off. USA Today's got them going 19-0 and winning the Super Bowl.
I know. I mean, well, who doesn't have them going 19-0? I haven't talked to anybody who thinks they're going to lose to anybody yet. Of course, they're going to lose a couple of games. Hey, by the way, Brick, Austin Howard, we got him here. Tell me an Austin Howard story.
From knowing him and just knowing him in passing, I just hope he can stay healthy. He's the type of guy that when he was given opportunities to play, at times he stepped up and had decent games. Other times where he was buried on the depth chart, he got himself ready to play. He's just a good, serviceable NFL player. He's not a star. He's not an elite player in this league, but he's a really good teammate, a good guy, a guy who's going to be part of the community, and a guy that Raider fans really liked because he was everywhere. Everybody got a chance to see him. Perfect guy for you to to get out on the road to one of your remotes to come out at night for charity work because he's one of those guys.
Nice. Well, that's good to hear. We're doing, you're crying the blues out there about this and that and preseason. Dude, but we can't get Flacco to the field here, right? I mean, right now we're in that, I hope he can stand up. I hope he can play. And I think the first time any of us is going to get a look at him is going to be like in, rapid fire, game one, real thing in Cincinnati. For a Ravens fan, this has been a real tough couple of weeks, man.
My partner on the radio, Tom Looney, has a line. He's got a lot of gimmick lines that he uses all the time. And his big line is, Joe Flacco forgot how to play football. And I go, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, he comes into the league, he wins big games, he has probably the greatest run in postseason history behind Joe Montana, and all of a sudden, he forgot how to play football. We don't see the fire in Joe's eyes. We don't see Joe with the smile, the body language. God, he's starting to have body language like Eli Manning. Joe is at a crossroads in his career because Harbaugh's got to be looking at him going, Joe, we love you. You're a Ravens Hall of Famer. You're a hell of a player, but we need you to play at a high level this year. I'm really interested. I'll throw it back at you. What type of season does he have this year? Is he going to step up and play like a Pro Bowler, or is he just going to have an average year?
Well, I think part of that's tied to his health, right? I mean, same thing would be said for Tony Romo last year, or how Jay Cutler thinks he's just going to come back and go out there and make it to post 14 times. When you got a starting quarterback in your 30s, and maybe we should all be reading Tom Brady's book here, right, on how to cheat and how to stay young and cheat Father Time. Guys get into their 30s. I mean, up in Pittsburgh, everything they have is hinged on Roethlisberger and whether he can do it or not. And look, Flacco was one of the most reliable, healthy quarterbacks the first 7.5 years of his career until the freak accident, happened 2 years ago. And now we're trying to find that guy. And, dude, I would tell you this on Carr, and you've been at this a long time, Brick. Carson Palmer coming back, Brady coming back, anybody that's coming back from that kind of an injury, and I know Carr went through it last year, don't expect him to pick right back up and it be week 12 like it was last year. That's just not the way it works, I think.
Yeah, and the one thing about Carr is he's so young. He's 26, and the injury that he had, believe it or not, even though he broke his portion of his ankle leg, was a 6-week injury. They were thinking in Raider Nation, get this, they were thinking that if they got the home bye week, which they had locked up, they had the 2 seed before he went down, that they could have found a way to get him healthy enough to play in the Super Bowl. So he came back at 100%. He was ready, 2 months before camp. He's at 100%. He got bigger and stronger, and he's just a freak now. His arm strength, and the fact that he has Cooper and he has Crabtree, and they got Jared Cook to come over from Green Bay. He's got everything he needs. Again, the Raiders are going to have to feed off of Khalil Mack, who is already the NFL Defensive Player of the Year at a young age. I threw this out on the radio and got a lot of negative feedback. I'm a born and raised diehard New York Giants fan as a kid, and I watched Lawrence Taylor play live probably 20 times, and I've been to 2 of the Super Bowls. I know Lawrence Taylor well, and I watched him play. I have his jersey in my game room, and Mack's the closest thing I've ever seen to Lawrence Taylor. If he can continue to play at this level, then the Raiders can build pieces around him the way the Ravens did with Ray Lewis, but then they found the Suggs. And when you have Bart Scott and you bring in Ed Reed, you bring in all these guys around one great player, kind of like Seattle does with the Legion of Boom with Cam Chancellor and Richard Sherman, and you have several great players on defense, you can make a Super Bowl run. Problem is I can't put the Raiders in the Super Bowl if they don't play defense, if they don't stop anybody, if they can't get off the field on third down. They're going to win a lot of shootout games, 36-34, but as you know, every game that's a shootout, you're not going to win them all.
Well, and week 1's already daunting, right? I mean, all I'm hearing about are the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they, along with Tampa, and you do national radio, Brick, I mean, they are the darlings of the league. Everyone that goes into Tennessee or Tampa with a postcard, and, Tampa's running around with their hard knock stuff going on, which I have not yet watched this year. I'm going to binge watch me some Buccaneers and Mike Smith over the weekend, but, it's you lose week one. It really is cold water in the face. And one of these franchises that really does harbor deep January thoughts, at the very least, is going to lose week one, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that Raiders-Tennessee game is a big one. There's tough games around this league. But, again, for Oakland, Oakland's got one of those tougher schedules. Who would have thought the Oakland Raiders would have a tougher schedule than Tom Brady? I mean, Brady's got 6 games in division that guarantees him 6-0, especially this year with Buffalo and the Jets both fighting to quit, literally quit like the Philadelphia 76ers in basketball. So Brady goes 4-0 before the season starts, and then he plays Miami twice. That gets him to 6-0 before the schedule kicks in. Brady wakes up in August with 6 wins in the bank, knowing that he needs 10 to have the division or 9, and it's over. So everybody is chasing New England's home field advantage. And as I told you many times on this show, one of the only teams, and it's not your friend Mike Tomlin, your good friend from Pittsburgh, it's John Harbaugh is the only coach that has the real mindset to go into New England and win football games because he's not scared. Tomlin's team went in there last year, and that defense was so pathetic and gutless and so soft they were afraid to compete. So one of the things I like about the Ravens is if they do get into the playoffs as a wild card, they got the balls to go into New England. They know how to take the buses in. They know how to fly in. They know how to warm up, and they're not intimidated to play at Gillette because they've won there.
He is JT the Brick, John Turnauer, my lifer buddy, out at Fox Sports Radio, as well as on the Raider Radio Network, and doing his thing out in the Bay Area. You can follow him out on Twitter, Facebook, anywhere social media follows and fun follows. Last thing for you, do you want to give the Orioles a kick in the nuts on the way out while you're on Baltimore radio? Because I know what a baseball guy you are. I know you're gloating about this Yankee renaissance and all this stuff. Yankees got their hands full because Angels, Twins, Royals, this is going to be a little bit of a catfight into September. And I'll say this, as the Orioles, the Rays, and the Blue Jays fade, I think the games, these interdivision games, it's going to be really interesting to see what the Detroits and the Seattles and some of the rollover teams are going to wind up doing in September, because this thing's close enough that almost anything can happen, really.
My Yankees are fading right now. Judge broke the all-time game strikeout record in succession. He's a mess. He's a mess. He had the Rookie of the Year and maybe the MVP locked up coming out of the All-Star break, and he is a mental mess right now. The Yankees are going to have to hold on, I think, for a wild card. Those last 2 series with the Red Sox were brutal. But look, you've been very hard on Angelos with the Peter principles, which I like. You've been hard on Duquette. You need to sound off like you got a pair. It's time for Buck to move on again. Buck is great for Baltimore in the big picture. Buck Showalter can't get it done. Does he know how to manage a game? Is he a sharp guy? Absolutely. It doesn't work. He can't motivate this team over the edge. If you can't beat the Yankees and the Red Sox as one of the teams are rebuilding, you've had how many years to do this? I think the Buck era should come to an end, and someone young with more energy should come in there and light a freaking fire under the Orioles.
Well, I mean, they're not going to have players left to light, dude. At the end of next year, it's Buck and Duquette, both tied to the end of next season. You've got Machado and Jones with 600 at-bats left here, assuming they have no gusto left in them and that they're not going to be playing in October. Right now, you would bet against them. So would Fangraphs, by the way. And then at the end of next year, you lose Britton and Brock as well. There's a lot of questions here. There's a lot of Chris Davis contract left here. They're at least shedding Jimenez. They've got Trumbo a little bit as well. But look, there's going to be major change here no matter what, and I don't think Duquette would sign up for more of this. I don't know whether Buck is willing to sign up for one thing Buck has going for him, and this will be in the later chapters of the Peter Principles, which there is no ending to the book, Brick, because there's no ending to this story. I literally, when they were playing Kansas City a couple years ago, Jen had survived the first time, and they were in the ALCS. I said, you know what, they're going to win. They're going to win the World Series, so that the book wraps up with all the crap that he's done, all of the sins, all of the crime, all of that. And in the end, they're going to have a parade. And that didn't happen. So I don't have a happy ending for the book. But I will say this, there will be an ending to Duquette. There will be an ending to Showalter. It doesn't feel right now like it's going to come with a parade, to your point. So So the question is then, what are we doing? Well, you have an 88-year-old owner who, you know, if he had any warm fuzzies here, would say, I'm an 88-year-old owner, and I don't want to wait till 2021. I want to win next year. I don't know how they're going to do that. I mean, they can never bid on a pitcher, which is the real problem. And look, the fear here is the Yankees and the Red Sox, the next 5 years, the Orioles are going to have the friends and family deal they had going on Monday night where no one cares anymore. You know, when you don't compete at all, it's awful, as you know.
Well, just keep holding Peter to the fire on this. You're one of the only members of the media who's got the balls to hold Peter to the fire on the fact that he has no passion, no will to win, no desperation, won't go over the top. He's got more money than you could ever take with you. And you're right. You got to bid on pitchers. You got to make runs at guys like Tanaka or Chris Sale or anyone who's available. It's not going to be Kershaw, but you're going to get a great pitcher in free agency, and you have an owner that can afford to go out there and sign a guy for $100+ million, but he refuses to do it. And if that owner, as you said, doesn't go out and purchase free agent pitchers who can drive a team to a World Series, such as a Max Scherzer, go down the list, then there will be no championship in Baltimore for baseball for the foreseeable future. Because if you can't go out in free agency and overpay for the top 2, 3, 4, 5 pitchers in baseball, your owner's proving that he doesn't want to win a championship. And you've been saying that a long time with him. And again, Baltimore, you know, the handful of times I've been back in a long time, but when I've gone to Camden Yards, I go there for the atmosphere, the cold beer, the barbecue, to walk around the back of the outfield and to enjoy the experience of it, not to see winning baseball because you have an owner that doesn't care about winning baseball.
He is JT the Brick Turnauer. He reached to me and said he wanted to honor my mom. No better way to honor my mom for me than to hold Angelos responsible for only having had one parade with her back in 1983. But I will tell you this, Brick. She was with me and my papa in the upper deck at Game 5. She was there when McGregor delivered the final blow to Gary Maddox and Cal Ripken squeezed the ball there at shortstop at the corner of Broad and Patterson in South Philadelphia, and the Orioles brought the championship flag home. Too bad it was 34 years ago, dude.
Well, God bless her again. I wanted to reach out to you because I'm going to miss her on Facebook. I'm going to miss those Sundays of clicking on Facebook and seeing your mom in the back seat going out for some breakfast and maybe having a cold beer later in the day. And again, thanks for having me on to pay tribute to her because she was a special woman and she did right by you and all of us.
I may release 98 videos in honor of my mom's 98 years. How about that?
I'll watch most of them, my friend.
Maybe 98 Rock will sponsor that. I have to talk to those folks over at TV Hill. See you later, JT.
Take care, buddy.
He is the Brick, and he is on the Fox Sports Radio Network as well as out in the Bay Area and, of course, on the Raiders Radio Network, one of our pals. One of the people that, I guess our mutual friend, Dick Schaap would say, I collected him at some point. So great to have Brick around here. It'll be good to catch up with him out in the Bay Area on Week 5 of the season. We play out there in early October. We're going to be at Wembley in Week 3. September 23rd is our Saturday event. We're doing it at the Fox at XL. Speaking of Fox Sports Radio, the Fox at XL. Great pub with some fish and chips and some pints. We're about 2 blocks away from the Emirates Air cable car. We're going to do a Purple Sky parade across the River Thames to the O2 Arena on Saturday afternoon. One of the coolest things in London to do for sure. Certainly the coolest thing you could do for $3. No doubt, or actually £3, I should say, which is more like $4, by the way, to take the cable car ride over the River Thames. It is a little freaky deaky. I've got a video of me doing it. There is no video of me urinating while I'm doing it. But no, that didn't happen, but it almost happened. It's not for the faint of heart. If you don't like heights, it's a little weird. But we are doing it, so come on down. If I can do it, you can do it. And, heights, it's weird. I don't know what to tell you. It's over a river with your feet dangling. It's a little strange. Just hang on. Close your eyes so you'll feel like you're on the Wonkavator or something over London. It is the 23rd of September. All the information's up on the website. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook as well as our YouTube WNST TV channel. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570 and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.